Hello, so in this video I'm going to show you how to use the art program called Photopea, and it is similar to Photoshop. So the first thing that you want to do is to go to File, New, and if you want to create an account you can. If you look right here there's an option to do that, but if you go to File, New, now just ignore all of this on the right. This demonstration is mainly to show you how to work on art and images and that type of thing. So this is more like for a presentation. So type in your name, whatever title you want to give it. And when you first start off with this, it's just easier to use inches. And I'm going to create a landscape. So I'm going to do 11 inches by 8.5 inches. Now, if you wanted to do a portrait, you would just flip that to 8.5 by 11 inches. And the background is going to be white. You could choose transparent or black. And then click create. And something to keep in mind when you're using design programs like this, that is kind of, if you're new to design, it kind of is something you are not aware of and things start getting really confusing if you don't understand. This part is that there are layers. So if you look over here, so if you can imagine a stack of paper with individual pieces of paper just stacked on top of each other, that's kind of what layers are. And so you do have to understand that concept. And when you insert pictures into here, it's going to add another layer. So when you're working, it's good to keep the background just blank. So we're going to create a new layer. Anytime you hover over one of the icons with your mouse or your arrow, a little box is going to pop up and tell you what it is. So I'm going to create a layer right there. And the toolbar over here, it's the same thing. If you hover over any of the tools, a box is going to pop up and tell you what it is. So if I click on the paintbrush tool, it's going to give me options. And so when you see that little triangle down at the bottom, that is what that is indicating. It's indicating that there is more in there for you to explore. And then the other thing to notice is every time I click on one of these tools, the top toolbar is changing. Excuse me, the controls at the top are changing. And so that gives you control over each tool. So for example, the paintbrush tool, if I want to change the size or the style, I can do that right here. And it gives you kind of a preview with some of the brushes. Some of the brushes it does not. You can go to one that actually gives you kind of a preview. This one gives you a preview of kind of the size. You can do larger or small. Okay, so that's how you control the tools, is over here. Okay, let's go to the fill bucket. And we'll do a solid color for this layer right here. And I'll just say B2 for background 2. You can label it however you want, whatever you're going to remember. And then I'm going to go to the color here, and if the color picker is down, that square down there, and let's go down a little bit further here for the teal color. And then all you do is click on there and then it fills it. Okay, so that's one layer. And the eraser tool is right here, so you can work subtractively and erase what you've done, like that. And again, Control Z as in zebra is edit undo. And I'm telling you that's going to be your best friend when you're doing these design programs, because it just helps you to work faster instead of going up here to edit undo every single time. Okay, let's bring a picture in here. So File, Open in Place. So if you go in and pull up, whatever image that you've saved to your computer, it's going to have these bounding bars around it. Now, if you go to this arrow tool right here, this is another thing that is very helpful to know. How do I move things around? Click on the arrow tool, and then now look, I can move this around. The other thing you can do, if you look closely at the arrows, how it turns to a curved line, you can rotate it. Okay, fix that a little bit. And then I'm just going to stretch this over the top of this blue layer. And if you look, when you insert an image, it creates its own layer right there. So it is its own layer. Now, if you want to make edits to these images that you bring in, then you have to go up to Layer, Rasterize. I'll show you what happens if I don't do that. So let me see. Try to paint on it. Smart object must be rasterized first. Rasterize, and then you can say OK. But you can also just go in here under, and again, that's one of the things with these programs too, is that there tends to be more than one way to do something. There's also shortcut keys that you can use as well, which are helpful. But you can go to Layer, Rasterize. Now I can paint on top of this, right? And I have this on what's called a hard mix. So if you look at the blend mode up here, it's not a normal blend mode. It was switched to hard mix, and that's why it's doing that. Another thing you can do, I'm going to do control, let's see, over here. Another thing you can do is, so I have this layer selected. You can go in and you can change the way this layer is interacting with the layer underneath it. And if you look, I have it selected. I'm just going through the whole list. And you can do different things that way as well and make changes to it. Okay. Go back over here. So another thing that you can use is the lasso tool. Now, when you use the lasso tool, say you're going to select something, and this is like freehand, more organic. This is not like, you know, perfect geometric shapes. So I'm going to select that area. If I want this on a separate layer, I'm going to create another layer, and I have that selected. I'm going to use the gradient tool. One thing about the gradient tool too is it's helpful to pick the color first, and then the gradient tool is with the paint bucket tool. And then I'm going to draw the line. Now, because I have this little area selected, I can do this anywhere on the canvas. If I didn't have it selected, it would just fill this whole square. Okay, so, and you can change, again, there's the controls up here where you can change the blend mode to something else if you want to. So let me go back to the selector tool. And then one thing that you do need to keep in mind too is when you have something selected, like I use the lasso tool to select that, you do need to hit Control D to deselect, and then that'll make that go away. Okay, so I'm just going to do another organic shape here. And I'm going to go back to the gradient tool. Maybe do this the other direction. Okay, so now you have that. I'm going to hit Control D to deselect. Now, if you say you want to use the shape tool, there's a shape tool right here. You know, there's different shapes: rectangle, ellipse, line. If you want to change the color, you have to go to Fill. You have to click on this box, but then let's see. Let me back up a little bit. I want to show you. So color picker. It's also called the eyedropper. So if you go to the eyedropper tool, say I want this color right here, I can click on it and it's going to change that to that color down there. Maybe I want one of these darker color in here. It will change to whatever I choose. Let me go back to, again, I want to change the color. I'm going to click right there, and clicking down there, it automatically changes that if you look up there. And then I can do my shapes on top of there. And then using the arrow tool, if you see they're separate layers, if you don't like all these separate layers, if it starts getting annoying or you want to have them all grouped together, one thing you can do is select them and merge them together. So I have that layer selected and I want to merge it with down to this layer. So you make sure this is selected, hold down the shift key, and then click that layer, that last layer like that. Whatever it is that you're wanting to merge together, right click, merge layers, and then it goes into one layer, and then you don't have so much to deal with. And then the thing about that is that then you can like move it around. You can do different things to it. So it just depends again on what you are trying to achieve with what you're doing. Okay, and then you can change the opacity if you go to here, make it a little bit transparent like that. You can also use this right here. Once you select it, this is like a way to blend the layers. Once you select it, you can use the arrow down and just go through until you find something that you like. I'm going to go back to that one and then just make this, bring this down here. And go to the select tool. And move it around a little bit. Okay, so those are just some basic, very basic ways to use this program so you can at least manipulate it and do things on a basic level. The last thing that you do need to know is how to save this. So if you create an account, you can save it as a PSD. If you save it as a PSD, you're going to be able to edit it. So when you save it as a file like that, you're going to keep the layers. Now, if you save it, export as a PNG or a JPEG, it's going to flatten the layers. And you can leave it at the pixels where they're at. I mean, if you're doing something that's a higher quality and you want to have higher pixels, obviously you can change that. I'm going to save that, and then it automatically just downloads. And if you're having a hard time finding it, you can just search for whatever title you gave it or in your downloads section in your files. So that is just the basics on how to maneuver your way around in Photopea. So I hope that helped you. Thank you.